Use the figure to identify parallel lines, parallel planes, and skew lines. Let's start with parallel lines. In this box, we're assuming that this is a true box that has, all right angles. The definition of parallel lines states that the lines need to be in the same plane and can never touch each other. So for example, if I look at this plane here on the side, line BG and line CF never touch each other. So I could say that BG is parallel to CF. I could pick any number of planes. I could pick the plane in the front. In the plane in the front, DA would be parallel to CB. And I could pick many more pairs of parallel lines. The important thing is that they are coplanar and they never intersect. Now, parallel planes, the planes themselves can never intersect. So if I look at these two, if I look at this box, the left side of the box will never intersect with the right plane of the box. So I could say that these two particular planes would be parallel. Remember that you only need 3 letters to name a plane: CF, G, and DEH. I could use the top and the bottom plane. Those also would never intersect. Or I could use the plane that's in the front and the plane that's in the back. Now let's talk about skew lines. Skew lines are sometimes the hardest lines to figure out. Let's look at one line specifically. There are many pairs of skew lines in this picture. But if I look at line AH, I want to think about any line that could be skewed with AH. Skew lines cannot be coplanar and cannot intersect. So right away, I know that line ED is not skewed with AH because it's in the same plane. Also the same with BG and AH. They're both in the bottom plane together, so they would not be skewed. I also could not pick line DA or EH because they intersect line AH. So the lines that would be skew with AH would be EF and BC because they're not completely in the same plane. Also, line BC and GF would be skew. And don't forget about line CF. It is also skewed with AH. And we also cannot use line AB or line GH because they intersect AH. And again, there are tons of pairs of skew lines in this picture. So there is no one right or wrong answer. But for example, I can say AH and CF, or AH and CF.